Hello. Let me just make a quick post on Insta so people know that we're live. Hello, y'all. I am now live on YouTube and TikTok. Head to the recording app and come say hi. We're just gonna vibe this morning. Cool. We're good to go. Hello. How are you guys doing? It's Monday, so it's probably a slow morning for most of us. I know it is for me, and it's noon already somehow, so... But I think we're gonna chat and we're gonna hang out this morning. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions, whatever. I'm doing good. Slept in, so I'm just getting moving. But it's been a good day so far, the little bit that I've been awake. I don't know. A lot of my followers also read comics. If any of you watching read comics, did you read anything cool this week? I think another set of K and Black tie-ins came out, if you're keeping up with that event. But personally, I mostly just had more X-Men books to keep up with, because there's like a bazillion of those always, I feel like. So that was my week. I still have like 2 or 3 to read. I still need to read X Factor and one other one. I forget. I read the Marauders tie-in, though. And the Marauders tie-in was actually a lot better than I expected it to be for being a tie-in book. It really just felt like another Marauders book, so I was very happy with it. Dude, you should read those Ghost Rider comics. I forget who the writer was, but I think the series ended, so I think it's at least a mini-series. You've got a distinct endpoint. But I feel you. I have like a whole stack of trades that I just haven't touched that I buy because I'm like, ooh, I want to read this. And then I just don't read it. So I totally feel you. I did just get this one. Oh, as I'm knocking stuff over. So I'm going to read something not Marvel to get a little bit out of my Marvel burnout right now, but I don't know. I'm excited. I like Xena a lot, so. I hope her and Gabriella are a thing in this, or I'm going to be a little bit mad. No, that's totally fair. Do you read other comics, or do you just not read comics at all? Because I know a lot of people just read independent books that are like fantasy or sci-fi or, what have you. So. Hey! Long time no chat. How are you doing today? I miss you too. It's been so wild. I feel like I usually get to see you at least a couple times a year, but I don't think I've literally seen you since this time last year. Because we're approaching Katsu. So yeah. Wow. Dude, I miss you. Oh, that's fair. I feel like comedy comics are their own whole genre of of their own. Um, I've been trying to catch up. I just got a trade that finally I found one that encompasses. Um, hey, well, it was nice seeing you, dude. I appreciate you stopping by. um, if my brain can function this morning. Um, I feel like no. What was I saying? Oh my god, mornings. Um, oh yes, I was reading a trade this week that I'm really excited they finally did a collected version of that has the Wanda and Vision 4-part miniseries as well as West Coast Avengers. And wow, it's pretty step for step WandaVision right now. So I think like as much as people think it's, House of M or X-Men Disassembled, I really think it's going in a direction closer to the mini and into West Coast Avengers, which leads directly into Avengers Disassembled, which horrifies me if Madness in the Multiverse ends up being similar to that, because I think that Disassembled is one of those times where they really just made Wanda horrifying. So I'm really excited to see, where episode 6 through 9 take us. Because I think it could be really interesting. I finally just re-put this whole thing up because I moved around like the whole studio space, and I'm not gonna lie, putting up the comic wall took so much longer than I expected it to. Like, I know I've done it before, but like redoing it all, I got like real particular about it. But I'm happy to have like this kind of backdrop space back because I think it's a really fun backdrop to have. And when I'm in my normal shooting chair and not this one, I'll be a little higher up so you can see more of the wall. But we're in a comfy chair today. Hello, welcome in. I also have some unboxings I want to do at some point here soon, so you'll probably see me do some unboxing content in the near future if I can figure out a good way to kind of like I want to have like a nice clean backdrop for you know what I mean? So we're gonna do some troubleshooting, but I think you'll be seeing some cool stuff. So the latest episode of WandaVision was wild, and I don't want to go into too many spoilers, even though they're all over the internet already, in case y'all haven't seen it. But I think it opens the door to a lot of interesting implications, and I think that we all shouldn't be so willing to assume certain things about what we've been shown. This show does a very good job of feeling like a comic where it'll have an idea and then what would be the last page is the one topic that will be, spurning on into the next issue. So when we get a first appearance at the end of an episode, I don't think we should be so quick to trust it, because if it's anything like a comic, I think it can have its twists and turns and not really be what we think it is just because it's what it looks like it is. So I'm very intrigued to see episode 6, and I think episode 6 will help me make my decision on what it is we're actually dealing with here. But the implications that we were given by the end of WandaVision episode 5, I'm very, very excited for where this is going. Hello. But no, I'm very excited. I think that the writers have really done a good job of mixing things because, like I was saying earlier, oh, how am I raining on your parade? I think that the writers really have done a good job of, cherry picking the best elements of Vision and Wanda's stories. I want the X-Men too, and I'm not saying that it isn't, but I'm saying with how much this show has been about illusions and things that aren't quite what they seem, I'm a little bit skeptical to jump in and believe that what we're seeing is what we're seeing. And I hope that I'm proven wrong, but this show has taught me big doses of skepticism. But I think that the writers have done an amazing job of taking things from their 4-part miniseries and from West Coast Avengers, where they moved to New Jersey and he carries her in across the threshold, and they have a magic show and they have kids and Agatha Harkness is there. And I think it has all of those elements while also having some qualities of X-Men Disassembled, where she isn't quite as passive as she is in House of M, and she's a lot more direct and a lot more scary. And I'm afraid that we're going to get more of that because she is horrifying in X-Men Disassembled. And then we've definitely got clear, House of M vibes going on, which I think if we see her lose her memory of her kids is definitely the path that they will take. As well as having some really good vibes from the Tom King Vision run, which if any of you have read the Tom King Vision run, I think it's an absolute masterpiece. And I would love to see us get a Vision in the MCU at some point. I don't know if we will, but I would love to see, because since Sword was experimenting on Vision's body, we have the kind of foot in the door to potentially get a Vision created by Sword instead of created by Vision, and that could be really cool, especially if they are trying to build like a Champions or a Young Avengers roster, because I feel like she's kind of integral, at least on the Champions team. But no, I want X-Men too, I really do. I just don't know, I don't want to trust it quite yet. I did not see the new Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer yet. I got it sent to me, but I haven't seen it yet. But I'm very excited. I think what Marvel's doing with the format of their shows is something that really is showing that a TV series doesn't have to be like less than a movie. They really can actually spend more time and do more character development in the format of a TV series. So I'm excited to see the spotlight on Falcon and Soldier in that same way that we're seeing with Wanda and Vision now. She's giving me Mad Magneto vibes. I could see that. She definitely is having some Magneto-like qualities. I don't know if we'll get Magneto, because like the last episode, I think they even name-dropped her parents, which surprised me, because I thought we would be more ambiguous on that and maybe get a Magneto in the future, maybe by Phase 5. So they're definitely, I think, double downing on her and Pietro not being of that lineage, unless we get that through her brother. Phase 5 for X-Men, I can feel it in my bones. Yeah, I think Phase 5 is going to be a lot more cosmic. I think we're going to have a fully fledged Fantastic Four by then, and I think that we're going to see a lot more mutants popping up. She did have adoptive parents in the comics before she found out Magneto was her dad. I would love that. Cool. I have the facsimile of her first appearance, but I haven't actually sat and read it yet. So I will have to do that, because if that's the case, that's very interesting, and I could see them doing that. The question is now how Pietro is going to fit into all of this, and I don't know. We'll see. I think it'll be very interesting to see how all the puzzle pieces start fitting together with that. And how they start, because I have faith in the writers to do whatever they can in their best way to keep some sort of continuity, unlike we've seen in the past with mutants. So yeah, TV series allow for more interesting character development and stories. Yeah, and I think they're handling it extremely well, because I think superhero TV shows in the past have been decent, but not on par with the quality we've seen from some of the other stuff where they get jerked around due to movie releases. But this really feels like they're able to slowly tell a story and build building blocks for future films, and I'm very excited. I don't know. This is my first time doing YouTube live. Can I do super chats? Is that something that I can turn on? I'm under settings right now. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I have the ability to turn that on. That might be tied to something. I'm not really sure. Um, let's see. Huh. Yeah. I am not sure. This is my first time using this, so um I'm kind of just testing the waters and seeing how it works. So that's something I'll have to look into, probably on like Google or something after the stream. I am not sure though. Wanda and Pietro's adopted parents were Django and Maria Maximoff, who were not the names in WandaVision, if I remember correctly. It was Olaf and Irina. Well, to be fair, those are kind of more Eastern European sounding names since they're from Sokovia, so maybe that's why they changed it. I don't know. But those are very Eastern European sounding names. Yeah, it might be, and I don't have that enabled on my channel at the moment. Hello, howdy. Welcome. We're kind of chatting WandaVision and where we think Phase 5 is going right now. So feel free to chime in on the MCU chat because I'm very excited with where everything's heading. They also confirmed that not only Monica Rambeau is going to be in Captain Marvel too, but we're going to see Kamala Khan as well. And I have this very interesting idea of kind of the energy of it. And I was talking to a friend about this, but we kind of have this feeling that, the relationship between Carol and Kamala is very kind of like mentor mentee. And I think that it could create some interesting tension there with Monica, who kind of used to have that with Carol and also maybe feels a little bit neglected by Carol since Carol just went back to space for an indefinite amount of time after the end of Captain Marvel 2 instead of staying with her and Maria. So I think we could see an interesting kind of unique tension there, that those three will really have a good dynamic, and I'm really excited to see them interact in a movie together because I think it'll be really fun, and I kind of like that pairing of characters, so I'm really excited for it. People think that the mean sword leader guy will be a Skrull outed in Secret Invasion. I could see that. That would be interesting. I don't really know what I think of him quite yet, besides the fact that I think he is definitely trying to out Wanda in an aggressive way, even though I think he is somewhat at blame because it really kind of incriminated him for potentially trying to turn Vision's corpse into a weapon in the sword facility against Vision's wishes, but he came prepared with like bullet points of everything that Wanda had wrong to kind of shift the blame. So there's definitely something going on with him, I think. Like that was very, very sketchy. Hey Red, not gonna hang long, as I haven't seen any of WandaVision. Hey, no, that's totally fair. It's a very good show if you have time. I think they're doing a very, very good job with it. Nice collectibles, thank you. I have all of my statues, and then I have my nice little comic backdrop. The chair I'm in right now is a little short for it, but I like to kind of have it, cozy and fun. Young Avengers win. For real, I think they're really gearing towards some type of Young Avengers team, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. Yes, she recoiled, and you could, like, kinda see the, like, pain and dismissal, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." So I really need more of that. I need to figure out what's going on because that's definitely not things that were left in the relationship that we see in Captain Marvel. So I really hope we get some sort of flashback or some sort of something to see, why those feelings exist. And I have my own little, like, pocket theories, but none of them are really grounded in much besides, like, sorry, besides just complete, like, speculation. So I'm really excited to see what the heck is going on between Monica and Carol. Comic books are lame now, it's all about manga. Eh, I'm having fun with a lot of comics, and I think that you don't have to keep up with modern comics if they're not your jam. There's plenty of eras of comics and plenty of comics in that era you can dive into if there's a certain genre you like. And the thing about comics that I really enjoy is just how many genres there are. I haven't read manga in a long time, and I've been meaning to get back into it, but I do like current comics. I think there's a lot of good storylines that are going on, and a lot of really good writers that are currently on books. You just have to find one that clicks with you. With Monica and Kamala, I don't think I've ever seen them interact in the comics, so Captain Marvel 2, the dynamic should be interesting. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, it's interesting too, because so in the comics, Monica razzes Captain Marvel because Captain Marvel was her title at one point. And then we see Carol kind of razzing Miss Marvel because that was her title at one point. So I think even just thinking about how that dynamic kind of goes in the comics, you can kind of infer like it would be a very interesting kind of like sarcastic, dry humor in the comics, but with the tension they've made in we're gonna come back to that. But with the connections and stuff I kind of see in the comics that yeah, I've never seen them interact, but just seeing kind of that, I'm intrigued to see if they bring any of kind of that dynamic into the MCU, if we're just going to see tension, like what are we going to see? I definitely think we're going to see Captain Marvel in the Miss Marvel TV show. I think it's almost unavoidable, honestly. And I think that that will kind of roll into her being back on Earth potentially for Secret Invasion because having Fury and Talos and stuff in that series, I think we could safely bet that we might see Carol at least at one point. I think Monica is just not happy with Carol because they haven't discussed or grieved her mother's death. I could see that because she might not know that maybe Carol was there or Carol wasn't there. There might be some other beef. Right now with the show, I'm trying to decide if she's had her powers the entire time, and that's why she was dismissive of her test results, or if maybe she got her powers from going through the radiation field and back out through the radiation field. But I definitely think that the Monica we have now has her powers. And, Monica's powers are in such a way where Monica is essentially dead. So, maybe if that's something she got before the TV show, maybe that's why she has resentment towards Carol, because Carol, in a way would have killed her if she's responsible for her getting her powers. So, yeah, I think it'll be very, very interesting to kind of see what exactly comic books have become too SJW. I mean, if you feel that way, cool. I don't think comic books have become too SJW. I think that they've broadened their perspectives, and through that, you're not able to relate to as many perspectives because they're from different backgrounds or experiences you haven't personally had. Also, Thor spoiler, they might be retconning his mom to Phoenix. Is that going to be in the current Avengers? I don't know what it's called. It's post Age of Khonshu or whatever. I haven't been keeping up with it. But is that going to be in the Avengers book, or is that going to be in Donny Cates' Thor? Because that would be very out of left field in Donny Cates' Thor right now. Or is it in the movies? I don't. What? I hate that, actually, if his mom would be Phoenix. Hi, just stopping to say hi and just wondering if we might see Wonder Man at any point during WandaVision or Phase 4. I hope that we do. I think that it's very interesting I think that it's very interesting that we've seen Wonder Man in the background of some of the, behind the scenes stuff for WandaVision. It could be a red herring because Kevin Feige is like that sometimes. But I think with how heavy that Wonder Man is involved in the story, it would not be out of the realm of possibility to see Wonder Man pop up. Comics have always been political. Yeah, they've always had some element to them. I mean, you being Hispanic is significant to you and your experiences in life, but that doesn't mean that comics are SJW. It just means you need to find a comic that clicks with you because maybe that book is just something that someone out there needs and relates to in a way that you can't. What's everyone been reading lately? Yeah, no, what have you guys been reading? I can talk about what I've been reading here in a sec when I catch up on chat, but what have all y'all been reading? Because I've been reading some really fun stuff. I've been liking a lot of the writers of what I've been engaging with lately, because usually I only kind of cling to one book. No additional context was provided. So it was just like an article, or that's weird. Jason Aaron's Avengers. Is it good? I've been thinking about jumping in, but I really don't like the idea of the Phoenix being a Avengers arc, so I've been kind of avoiding it. I heard about that, and I didn't like the idea of Thor being involved with Phoenix. I don't like the idea of any of the Avengers being involved with Phoenix. I think that Phoenix was a good story, and it's good self-encapsulated time, but I feel like each time that they bring it back into comics, it just gets so diluted to a point where it really makes the original story nearly worthless as far as its weight in canon. And it really kind of, degrades the struggle of the characters who had to deal with it the first time. And I really think that the more hosts the Phoenix has, the less special it is and the less weight it holds. So I'm kind of angsty at that. I'm angsty with a lot of things in comics right now. I'm also very angsty at the Franklin Richards retcon. Yeah. Yes, I too am trying to keep up with Dawn of X. There is so much to unpack in Dawn of X right now. Like, I feel like all of the titles are good, but I had to start cutting back because some of them I was just like, wow, there's a lot there. I think there's like 7 titles, maybe more when X-Men Legends comes out and Age of Adam comes out. But I've been really enjoying the ones that I've been reading. I think the current Cable story is fun. I've never really been a massive Cable fan, so maybe if you are, it's phenomenal. I don't know. I've been having fun with it though, and it's been really fun to see him interact with the Stepford Cuckoos and stuff. It's been an interesting hot take, and I think they're going to tie into some really cool stuff. I won't spoil it if you haven't read the Cable series, but they're going to tie into some really fun retro stuff. Uh, I implore you to go back and read 60s and 70s comics then, because I think that is really what has fueled the comic industry and has always been an integral and landmark point in comics. And maybe see what makes comics relevant and important. As someone who really dives into comic book history, I would implore you to look into that and not just think that it's a new thing. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to like that about comics. I'm not telling you that you do, but it has always been there. Then in all space, Jean was the only human compatible with Phoenix. Now everyone is a Phoenix. Exactly. And that's the thing is, as someone who really likes Jean Grey, between the dilution of her character through each plot device resurrection or return, and then writers not being able to handle Jean, and then everything with the Phoenix, like it's just like they keep taking pegs out of her, and it's really hard to stay a fan of Jean Grey because of that, because they're just making her character so bland and ununique when she used to be this like powerhouse. She was the first female X-Men character. She was an amazingly powerful Omega level telepath. She was the only one compatible with this cosmic entity. And then like I was even fine when her future daughter was, because that made sense. But I mean, now like you can have a Moon Knight Phoenix, which while that's cool to see, I don't think holds the same weight. I don't know. I'm doing a trade paperback. Are you doing it in the Dawn of X trades, or are you doing it per series? I've been doing per series trades. Like I keep up with it weekly, and then I've been doing, trades per series. But I was gonna ask if anyone is doing the Dawn of X trades where they're in reading order, how the flow of that is, or is it kind of odd to read, series that way? Enjoying the New Mutants, though I'd really like to see more of Cypher and his new bride. Me too. I really like the latest issue. My only beef with New Mutants is I feel like they're trying to shove too many characters into it, so we're never really seeing the parts we want to see. But I do really like what they're doing with it. I would kind of like to see eventually, even though I just complained about how many titles there were, seeing it split between maybe like Gen X and New Mutants, so we can actually have a little more page time with each character. But I've really been enjoying the new writer that they've put on that book. I believe it's Ed Brisson. No, they just got rid of Ed Brisson. It's another person now. I forget. Someone just started on 2 issues ago, so they've had 2 issues, and both have been very good. I'm also reading all 3 Kelly Thompson books. I don't know if anyone else is reading Deadpool, Captain Marvel, or Black Widow, but I think that all of them have been phenomenal. Specifically, Black Widow has really, really surprised me. I've never really been a Black Widow fan until now, and I think that Kelly Thompson's handle on that character is superb, as well as her handle of characters like Emma Frost in the Captain Marvel series. I'm rereading IDW Transformers, not new though. See, and that's totally fine too. I think if people have an era of comics they like, there's nothing wrong with going back and reading something that you love, and there's nothing wrong being like, you know what, I don't like comics now. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read a whole bunch of 80s comics I've never read before. Do that. Stick to what you like. There's no reason to feel like you have to like everything. I just don't think people should be quite as dismissive of, what other people might be in love of. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not not a good art, not a good piece. Vida Ayala? I probably pronounced that wrong. Ayala is writing New Mutants. Yeah, I've really liked their work so far. I'm excited to see where they take it. I think what they've done with Honey Badger, I don't like Scout as the new name, so Honey Badger has been really, really cool. And I hope to see more of Honey Badger coming on in the comics. I've been reading X-Men, Hellions, X-Factor, Cable, Wolverine, and X-Force. Oh, I think that's the other one. I haven't read the X-Factor or the Hellions this week. Those are the 2 I'm behind on. I've been really enjoying Hellions so far. I was very skeptical with how strange and 90s the team was, but I really like getting to see more of Sinister. I'm kind of bummed with what they did with Madeline Pryor, but I do like getting to see Sinister more. Loving the IDW Transformers series, but I do prefer the run after the death of Optimus Prime. I will take your word on that. I have not personally read them, but I've been meaning to get into them. I've heard they're really good. Laura's leaving the vault soon. I know. Is that the next issue or the issue after? Because they released the cover forever ago, and I keep thinking that it's the next issue, and then the next issue will come out, and it's not that cover yet. So I don't know how soon. I want to say it's the March X-Men book, but I could be wrong. But I'm really excited because she's been in that vault way too long, and Honey Badger is definitely missing her. So I'm excited for them to be back together. Next issue, yeah. Because I was like, they released it so long ago in previews that sometimes it's hard to remember when it's actually coming out. The comic book industry in reality is dying because of the jump towards ebooks, not physical paper books, not politics. Yes, as someone who works in the comic book industry, I will agree with that. I think a lot of parent companies that are non-Marvel are not understanding that you can't just digitize everything like you can with a normal book, and that pushing towards digital, you're losing a lot of the collector's market and a lot of people who have accessibility to those comics. So yeah, I think that the comic book industry is at a very interesting crossroads right now between, collectors of retro books, collectors of current variants, collectors of, slabbed and signed, collectors of trade paperbacks and omnibuses, and then people who only read online digital through like DC Universe and Marvel now. So I think we're at a very interesting crossroads with the technology and seeing, how the comic industry is going to evolve. But I really do like seeing a lot of, new female writers, new, LGBT writers, new, writers that aren't anything we've seen before, whether or not they're from other countries, other, ethnic heritages, genders. I'm really liking seeing that in comics because I think we're getting interesting new perspectives and handles on characters that we haven't seen before. So I hope that the comic industry keeps booming so we can see more of that. Because I'm appreciating those perspectives on the characters a lot more than I thought I would. Especially, I think for me, it was Marvel Snapshot Cyclops for me that I thought was really moving. It was written by a trans man, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And seeing that kind of perspective take on the mutant narrative was honestly something that was very powerful. And I really, really liked the interpretation. And I really, really liked the, subtext that we got that I don't think we would have gotten from, a cis person. And, you don't have to click with that narrative at all, but I think it's an interesting perspective, especially for the one shot that it was, to see take on what it means to be a mutant in the Marvel universe. And I thought it was a perspective we don't often see in comics. So I hope to see more of that. And I don't think it's SJW of comics to give people the chance to share perspectives like that. The new Wonder Girl comic. Is that I don't think I've heard anything about a new Wonder Girl comic. Right now I'm trying to really keep up with Marvel as much as I can. I've been reading some of Future State. So is that something that's coming out of Future State? Is that something Marvel? I don't think I've heard anything about Wonder Girl lately, but I might just have my head in the sand about that one and be crazy. They might have been, plugging that forever now. But I don't think I've heard anything about that one. Have you noticed how Gabby's being neglected across all the X books? I have a feeling that's why they want to push her towards the Shadow King. Yes, I do, because between like Daiken not being there for her, and then her having anxiety about sparring because she's a clone, and she saw how they kind of shafted Maddie with that. I think she has genuine fears, and I feel like she feels genuinely alone now that Laura's gone, and I think that that's really going to circle back and become a thing in what is it, X-Men 19, X-Men 20? I've lost count, honestly. I just pick up the new book. But where Laura comes back, I think that that's going to be a real thing, and I think that the Shadow King is definitely going to try and capitalize on that, because Gabby is definitely getting kind of ostracized from the herd a little bit. So I think there's definitely going to be something with that. Hot take, Sassy Sinister was fun for a minute, but it's starting to feel more... much more less and less Mr. Sinister in general. Well, I've got good news for you. From the little bit I skimmed of Hellions this week, I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore. I do agree that I did like Sassy Sinister, but also we're seeing less and less of Sassy Sinister. Wow, I don't know why I'm stuttering on that alliteration so badly. But I think that, first of all, Sinister is becoming less sassy with time. Sassiness is kind of his public face, because through Vanity he's able to oh my gosh, hi Kira, how are you doing? I miss you. Hope you're doing well today. But no, through his sassiness I feel like he's able to mask his deviousness. And I think that was no more apparent than the last Hellions tie-in for 10 of Swords. Because holy heck, we see the real Mr. Sinister again, and then moments later we see Sassy Sinister back in the Quiet Council. So I absolutely think there's something to that. But the little bit I saw kind of just thumbing through Hellions this week, I think also there's going to be some stuff in there. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I think that we'll definitely start seeing a little more of a pivot. Let me catch up real quick over here. Hello. Sorry, I'm so behind on chat. It's spinning out of Future State. Wonder Woman is Yana Flor as a teenager. Oh, okay. I would love that. I haven't gotten to read Wonder Woman 1 yet. I read Wonder Woman Immortal #1, but not Wonder Woman with Yara. But I would be really excited to see a book of just her continuing more than just the 2 months of Future State. Hello, though. Doing good. Blizzard 30th anniversary today, so gonna forever relax and play tons of WoW. Can't wait to read. Maybe I'll hop on later. I've bought WoW for like 3 months now and maybe logged on like twice, and I've been really bad about it. and I keep telling myself that I'm gonna play and then procrastinating. But no, definitely chill out. Enjoy WoW. 30th anniversary. Damn. I can't believe Blizzard's been around that long, but also like that makes sense. Let's see. Guess we need Sark. Wow, Sark. That's not at all the letters I was reading. We need Sync, Darwin, and Laura. I agree. I think they've been gone too long. I understand the event and the quarantine has kind of prolonged the release of comics, but I really feel like they've been in the vault far too long at this point, so I'm really excited to see them back. I want my Gen X group back together. Same. I really have this void of like missing. Oh no, Flo, if you come on, let me know. I will for sure. And reading is hard, especially from a distance, and I just struggle bus. But yeah, no, I'll definitely let you know. Let me catch up here, and then I'll catch up here. I think they've been gone way too long, and I think that part of it might be just postponed release schedules, but I'm really excited for them to come back because it's been a hot minute, and it's probably been even more of a hot minute for them in the vault. So I'm ready for them to be back. But yeah, I want Gen X back. I really have this void in my heart um, for a school-based X-Men team. Now that they're on Krakoa, there's really no like school book that feels anything like, we're in school, but we have these powers, and there's this whole kind of like academic setting. So I'm kind of missing that, and I'm missing that that Gen X title on that team. So hopefully at some point we get that back. Who did you decide to vote for the new X-Men team? I voted for Banshee. I like retro team comps, and I feel like he's been dead for a very, 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 very long time. So I'm really excited to maybe see him back and alive. A close second for me though were Armor and Tempo. I think Armor has a very interesting team comp with the X-Men in most scenarios, and I really like her as a character. And then Tempo, I've just never seen Tempo in anything. So I think that it'd be cool to see her have a spotlight too. You look super pretty, by the way. Ooh, thank you. Um, this is like the quickest eyeliner ever, so that way I could just hop on and vibe and talk comics with people. So I appreciate that. Hello, hope you are having a good day so far. I am. It's fun. We're just chatting comics and having a good time. Definitely Miles and Kamala boomed when they were first written by people that had slightly more similar background to them. Exactly. I think sometimes like there's just the right perspective at the right moment that really resonates with people. And I think there's something powerful about reading a comic where you can identify with a character and, really see yourself in them. Because I know that, there's characters I like, and then there's characters that I can relate to. And I think that's important for everyone to have that at some point. And I really like that we're getting, more opportunities for more people to have that. To be fair, New Mutants shafted the academic side of things completely. Yes, I don't really like how New Mutants is handling any of that. I do like the new writer, and I do like the team, but it just I'm not into the like field operative kind of feeling education versus like a traditional like we're in a school type feeling. So I'm gonna give it a shot because I do like the new writer and some of the stuff that they're doing, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, props to Bendis for introducing Ruby and Miles, but it was the other writers who really made them stand out. I totally agree with that. I feel like, sometimes these characters get introduced, but it really just takes the right writer to come through and really make them something. And I think that's true with most comic characters, Like I feel like honestly, like even though I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan, I feel like Deadpool is really one of those ones that is proof of that because when Rob Liefeld created Deadpool, it is an entirely different character than what we see Deadpool being today. And it's one of those sometimes, a writer comes along and they just have an idea that works. And I think that we see that with a lot of characters like Miles and Riri, where we, when they were created, maybe there's not a whole lot of depth there, maybe there is, but it doesn't just click right, and then someone comes in and boom, and I'm really happy that a lot of the writers are getting it. That's why I like Kelly Thompson so much. I feel like the way that she writes Riri specifically is very good because she's able to capture the kind of hard, I don't want to get close to people, like don't get close to me. I don't care. But really I care. I'll be there for you. I just am afraid of that. And I feel like she gets that without making Riri look angry. And that's why I like Kelly Thompson so much, because she really commands the depth sometimes of a female personality that other writers don't quite get, and oftentimes those characters end up just coming across cold or mean. So I really do like her as a writer for that reason. Is that a Firestar cover in the background? Yes, it is. I'm sitting in a different chair than usual, so I'm a little bit lower on my comic wall. But that is Firestar number 4. I need to find the other 3 in the miniseries, but I really liked the cover, so I went ahead and bought 4, even though I don't have 1 through 3 yet. But I just love Firestar. They released the Marvel Legend of her recently, but I haven't seen it hit shelves yet. I've just seen people with pre-orders get it, but I'm excited. I'm excited that she's getting a little more love. Mad respect from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Awesome. Yeah. I someday I will go to Canada. The last 3 years I've been trying to go to Canada, whether it be for, YetiCon or Anime North, but it has just not been in the cards. But heck yeah. I voted Tempo since I liked her back in the early days of X-Force. Even if she doesn't win, I hope she makes it onto a main maybe take Polaris' place in X Factor if Lorna wins. Yeah, I would like to see her. I think she'd be really interesting mixed within the Marauders team comp, actually. We've seen her in a Marauders book in the past. And with Shaw somewhat displaced, I think it leaves some room to add some more characters to the roster in an interesting way. Have you checked out Sword? I read the first Sword book, and then I got a little bit disinterested when I heard the second one was a King in Black tie-in, because I'm just not a symbiote person, but I am meaning to go back in and read it. I didn't have a problem with the first book. It was very, heavy exposition, but I think that it was overall a pretty solid setup. I like seeing characters like Fabian Cortez pulled out of nowhere. I like seeing WizKid. I like seeing Peeper out of nowhere, so I'm very intrigued. Also, in general, just speaking, Abigail Brand is a total babe. So I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. I think they're putting down some interesting ideas. I'm ready for them to have like a story of their own and not book 2 instantly being a tie-in. I think that was kind of a sucky direction for it to take, but one they probably didn't have control in. Do you think Deadpool is the most influenced character in comics by the internet, especially by memes in 2000s and 2010s? I feel like Deadpool is an interesting character, and I feel like we've seen characters like it happen, and some of them stick and some of them don't. Gwenpool specifically, as well as like Squirrel Girl, where these characters, they do have to be influenced by that stuff because their characters have shifted to being pulp culture references. So I think it's more of, you have to have a writer who has a grasp of what's, hip and in pop culture at that time to write that character. And when you have someone who's out of touch with that, it's very, very obvious. So I think that's why the writer of Deadpool also changes quite frequently, because, I would say he is very, very influenced by whatever is popular. And that's a lot of I think his charm. Like I said, I'm not a huge Deadpool fan. I read one of his arcs way back in high school, but besides the Kelly Thompson one, I haven't really read anything in between that. But the exposures I have had with Deadpool, he has to be someone that when a reference is made, it is something relevant to that era. And when you go back and read books, you can tell instantly when they're from based on what he's referencing, whether it's TV shows or movies. Not necessarily memes, I would say, or internet culture, but internet culture, I feel like in the more new books is definitely a lot more relevant. And I think that just comes down to how referential his character is and how referential characters like Gwenpool would later come to be as well. And I think it is a form of character that we'll see more of as internet culture becomes more prevalent. But I think it is something that makes his character so unique is how much of a mirror he is reflecting kind of pop culture of that time. It uses the tie-in to advance the storyline. I'm not reading King in Black, and it wasn't too jarring. That's good to hear. I kind of liked what Marauders did, where Marauders is straight up Marauders King in Black #1. So like it's a tie-in, but it's not part of the series. But I'll have to check out Sword #2. I've been procrastinating it, but I do want to get around to reading it. I really did like the Marauders tie-in. It had very little to do with the symbiotes, and I was like, thank you. Also, the artist for Marauders King in Black tie-in I thought was phenomenal. The way they handled Kitty and her hair, she looked absolutely stunning. As well as Callisto, now that she has kind of the shoulder length hair kind of slicked back. I really liked what that artist did. I think like Bishop also had like a really nice kind of shorter haircut than I remember him having in the Marauders book as well. Like everyone looked real sharp. I really liked that artist. Change in direction. What do you think the biggest misstep in the new era of X-Men? Um, it's really, really hard to say because I know what my gripes are, but it's really one of those things where it's hard to say what's happening until we see the whole story culminate. But it's another thing where I feel like Hickman should not have been given a ongoing. He's good for mini and maxi series, as we saw in House and Powers. I thought House and Powers was a perfectly encapsulated story. We get a beginning and an end. I think the misstep was giving them Krakoa for as long as they've had already. I think that while Krakoa has opened opportunities for interesting storytelling, like Marauders and like X Factor and like Sword, it also has taken away some of the core aspects that I really fell in love with X-Men for, which is them not fitting into society, them being discriminated against, whether or not it's for like a mutant related disease or the fact that they're mutants entirely or the Mutant Registration Act and this kind of like narrative of they are not like everyone else, they do not fit in, they are discriminated against, but despite that they go out of their way to save humanity time and time again, even though they know they're not going to get a pat on the back for it. And there's something about that kind of internal struggle about the X-Men that I've always liked. And I feel like that's missing, and I feel like for me, that's lost a lot of the charm of the X-Men. But at the same time, I'm really liking the direction of like Marauders and Excalibur and these things that we're finally getting to explore. So I think that while Krakoa is a big misstep in the direction of losing what X-Men is, I think that as long as Krakoa isn't forever, it will be an interesting era to see how X-Men handle their own nation, because we've seen it happen a few times, but usually it does get yanked out from them pretty quickly to go back to that formula. We see Asteroid M, we see Genosha, we see Nation X, but I feel like, I disagree with it, and I disagree with how cryptic mainline X-Men is, where every book seems to be a tie-in for a different plot thread of a different book. But I'm really trying to hold reservations until I see the end of the Hickman era, and then I can go, yes, this was a misstep, or no, this was good, it just took too long, or I think that this era is doing something that the previous eras didn't, and that's give a lot of characters voices that didn't have them before. And I'm happy to see that, because before we had teams of people we see 100 times over. So I'm happy that now we have like 8 different titles where you can hang on to a character that you like, like I like Magic. She's in New Mutants now. We have more than just the original 5 and Storm, Remy, and Rogue running around. you know? So, I don't know. I'm very hot and cold with the new stuff, and I'm really just trying to hold a lot of my reservations until I see the direction that it truly is going. Eric sympathizing with refugees was great. Yes, and if he would have done anything but that, I would have rioted. I really liked that. I really like Savage Kitty. I like how she was like, "Nope, you're going to the desert now. Bye." And I really liked seeing the X-Men still have mercy for humanity because I think it's very easy to forget that in the era of Krakoa that, the X-Men time and time again do help humans even though they've been wronged so much and even though they're trying to get away from humanity because of what humanity has done to them time and time again. Um, but I did like seeing Eric instantly go, "I understand. Maybe you can tell this narrative of mercy as we help you because I understand what this is like." And I really, really did love that. And I like seeing that side of Magneto. And I think that's the important side of Magneto. Because we can forget that in his rage for humans so quickly. But I think that that's a very important aspect. And I did like seeing that in the Marauders tie-in. Love your Starfire. Thank you. My Starfire is probably my current favorite costume. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do, but I'm really proud of how that looks. Oh, is the background look a little crooked? They want to slide constantly. Uh, I understand completely. Also, she's like my only DC book right now, and I really like this art, but she might end up moving. Hello, hi. Um, I do see your message. You do not have to send it 6 times, please. Do you find it weird how Deadpool was given an island the exact same time Krakoa was formed? I don't, because I think that the new writer probably didn't intend it to be that way, because what happened with Deadpool is very different than what happened with Krakoa. Deadpool never intended to have an island. Um, Monsters took over what I believe is Staten Island, if my memory serves me correctly. And he was tasked with stopping that, right? Like he was not he was supposed to stop the monsters from having Staten Island, and he went and he killed the king of the monsters with the help of Elsa Bloodstone. But because of that, it's this like Davy Jones effect where now he is the king of the monsters, and Deadpool being Deadpool is not about to just go, okay, let's not be on Staten Island. He's like, what? I'm a king now? So I think for him, it's a very different narrative, and it is interesting that he has an island and the X-Men have an island, and we have seen them interact in a way that was very fun. I loved seeing Emma Frost interact with Jeff, but I don't think it's necessarily coincidence, but it is interesting that we have both of them set up with their own islands right now. Although I think Deadpool's will implode much sooner than Krakoa will. Who's had less growth in the past decade, Banshee or Angel? Banshee, because he's been dead. Banshee has been dead for a very long time, and then the few times they've brought him back, he's been a zombie husk of what he was. So I think that Angel, we've gotten some interesting character beats with him and Psylocke, especially when Psylocke has separated into Betsy and Quanon in X-Men Blue. No, X-Men Red. X-Men Red, I think. Um, and we've seen some fun character beats with Teen Warren, but we really haven't seen anything with Banshee at all since he's been dead. If anyone hasn't read the new Black Widow story by Kelly Thompson, I do implore you to. It is on book 4 of 5 of its first arc right now, and I think that it is doing something really, really interesting and fun with the character for the first time in a long time. I am a historian, so when I like something, I tend to go into the history of it. So I do know a lot about Marvel history. I won't pretend like I know everything about Marvel history, because I don't. It's very vast, and sometimes while I feel like I know a lot of things, someone will bring up a character, and I'm instantly like, "Wow, I know nothing about them." Like I don't know anything about a lot of the Avengers or about Hulk, because there's just so much rich history when you have stuff going from like the 1950s on. But I do really like comic history, and I think it has an interesting place in pop culture today. Even if it's not to do with comics as a whole, I think it just has a very interesting niche because of how long it has been around. Um, so I really do like to deep dive into a lot of comic history. Yeah. Are we vibing with green? Should I change the color? Should we do like blue maybe? Ooh. No, blue kind of clashes right now. I feel like. Maybe what's pink look like? I'm not hating pink. Pink is fun. Okay, we'll do that for a little bit. How villainous do you feel like Beast is? Is he a tad bit too extreme, or is it something else? I hate Beast as a character, so I have strong feelings. I think he's villainous. I think he's always one like Icarus misstep away from complete hubris on all of mutant kind. Um, and we've seen it time and time again, right? Like he consistently does things to the extent where the Watcher has actually come down and, ridiculed him in the past for his decisions. So I think that what he did with Colossus was an absolute misstep and absolutely rude. And in the Empire X-Men crossover, I do not trust what he has taken in those books, the samples he has taken. I feel like those are going to really come back to bite the X-Men. And while I don't feel like he necessarily has malicious intent, I feel like he always has a self-entitled intent. And I feel like sometimes self-entitlement is just as bad as malice at being a catalyst for catastrophic events. So I think, like, I'm not reading X Factor actively because I don't really care about that team as much right now in the books, but I do try and at least skim through so I have a grasp of what's going on. And I think that, yeah, like the things he's been doing in the books lately are just absolutely not okay, especially the stuff he did with Omega Red in the jail cell. Completely not okay. Absolutely crossing a line. And I think that we will see some fury come down on him because of that. Because I think that where that's going is down a dark path for sure. I didn't get too deep into the Marvel Universe because it was much bigger than I thought. I'm constantly reminded that it's much bigger than I thought. And I don't think I'll ever know everything, but that's kind of fun because I can just, dive into a new section and it's all brand new all over again. And it just slowly fills in the bigger picture. And I think that's what I like about comics is just how deep and how expansive, the mythos goes. And you get to a certain point with certain characters where, at least to me, I kind of start cherry picking which parts of the story I feel for me are canon for that character or not canon for that character, because it's inevitable that a writer will take over and do things that you don't approve of for the direction of said characters. So I feel like with depth of knowledge of the characters you like, you kind of can form a better picture of them in your head with, what you like and don't like. At this point, Beast is acting worse than he'd ever accused Cyclops of being. 100%. 100%. And something very interesting, too, is I strongly believe that the Cyclops we're seeing in Krakoa is one booted up by Xavier to not have any of the memories of anything post-AVX. I think it's a pre-AVX Cyclops, the way he acts, the way he interacts with Jean, the way he interacts with Emma, the way he interacts with Magneto. But I think Magneto has more knowledge of the future than Cyclops, with the way Magneto treats Cyclops. But we have good Soldier Boy Cyclops. So I think seeing that contrast Beast's actions even more because of how vindictive he was towards Cyclops in the Revolution era. I totally agree. I think the self-entitlement is going to be his downfall. Yes, I think like we are going to get a classical tragedy of hubris. I think that's the direction we're going. Like his pitfall will be himself inevitably. It has to be, because the calls he's making, the active defiance against Jean, one of the strongest telepaths on the island in the last issue of X-Force that I read, is staggering and absolutely going to bite him in the ass, I feel like. Big Mystique is going strong, waiting for the time to strike and avenge her wife. I know! I love her in Destiny. I hope we kind of get a retcon to confirm that she is, in fact, Rogue's father, like she's supposed to be. because the fact that they're finally doubling down on her and Destiny definitely being a couple just makes me over the moon. I love those two together, and I'm waiting to see how Mystique and how ignored Mystique is being as a potential threat and how much they're treating her like a lapdog is just going to come back and bite him in the ass. And I hope that we get to see Destiny v. Moira part 2. I really do. Now that's an interesting theory, Xavier and Cyclops. Yes, I strongly believe that that is what we're seeing, and that's why Cyclops is so different. Um, and I think that, you know, if it's not, that's bad writing. If it is, and I'm right, that's phenomenal writing because the implications then, because we've seen Xavier be this level of manipulative in the past, time and time again. Like, I mean, him sending a second team to Krakoa that wasn't trained at all, but he gave them the knowledge as if they were trained so that way they felt confident. I mean, we've seen Xavier do this level of manipulation. Why would he bring someone back that was so radical that he killed him because of what he believed in? Why would you do that when you could bring back a perfect soldier boy that hung on your every word and looked up to you? Why would you not bring that back? And I'm critically looking at a lot of other characters now because of that, because that's the conclusion I've come to with Cyclops in the era of Cyclops that we're seeing. Um, Especially because sometimes his dynamic with Emma, I can't tell if we have a Cyclops that's been with Emma. Um, I haven't seen them interact enough, but I can tell you that the Cyclops we have isn't, I don't think he's loaded to have all of his memories. And there's a couple other characters that when they act out of character, I start questioning, are they acting out of character or are they acting as if they were missing a significant part of their plot that has been redacted, essentially? And I hope that I'm right, and I hope that, you know, this is coming down to Xavier being the sole person in charge and responsible for loading all of these mutants' memories, being, you know, a little bit corrupt and a little bit manipulative with what he's picking and choosing to load their memories up with, rather than just poor grasp of the character. Because I think that would be a lot more interesting, and I really do love a manipulative villainous Xavier, because I think it really calls into question the blind trust that a lot of characters have in him. So I really strongly believe that that's what's going on, and I hope that that's what's going on, because otherwise I'm just disappointed in the lack of grasp of a lot of these characters. Gambit is currently, the question was what happened to Gambit. I haven't seen him for a while. He is currently in Excalibur with his wife Rogue. They currently just moved into the Braddock Lighthouse to help protect it because there are a cult of witches who did not approve of a mutant Captain Britain, and are very against the mutant Captain Britain right now. So they have moved into the lighthouse to try and be the gatekeepers between Otherworld and Earth right now. But if you like sword and sorcery type stories, I cannot suggest Teenie Howard's Excalibur more. I have fallen in love with it so much. I actually just bought the first 2 trades of the old Excalibur run to kind of fill in my back knowledge of the Excalibur universe. Because I will say they reference a lot of things that are kind of more of a challenge mode of knowledge in the Marvel universe that I've had to look up a couple things to be like, oh, okay. But I really love the fantasy take on X-Men and what Teenie Howard is doing with Excalibur. So if you want to see Gambit and Rogue, they've had a bunch of touching moments in that book, and I suggest it highly. I love your takes, and I love this. It makes me so happy. I'm glad, because I feel like I have a lot of unpopular hot takes. So, you know, I'm glad that, you know, at least someone agrees with me a little bit. Xavier has a lengthy history of altering people's memories against their will. I really hope at the end he's tailoring everyone in Krakoa to fit what he wants. I think that that's inevitable, you know. I think that, you know, that's absolutely what's happening. I think that there's some characters acting so blatantly out of their means that this is the only way that it can make sense, especially with characters like Cyclops, because we are seeing a Cyclops that genuinely to me feels early 90s, late 80s. And, you know, like, I can't say that with my whole chest because it could just be the tone the writer gives it, but I can say with my whole chest that it extremely does not feel like a Cyclops who has gone through most of the plot arcs in the past 10 years. Like, it does not feel like someone who went through AVX. It does not feel like someone who went through a revolution. It does not feel like someone who killed Xavier. It does not have any sort of repentance in his tone towards Xavier. It feels like he is right back into being in this position where Xavier is not only his commander, but his father figure. And I think because of that, there has to be some sort of repercussion due to Xavier altering his memory. Yeah, I strongly, specifically with Cyclops, I've gotten a little bit of red flags from a couple other characters, but Cyclops is the one that I'm very much like, there's no way. And granted, I really didn't like how they handled his resurrection and his tone towards his actions. So, maybe it is kind of a poor writing approach to his repentance. But to me, it doesn't feel like a Cyclops who's been through that. And Xavier has, as the comment said time and time again, been caught altering people's memories. So there's really nothing holding him back from, uploading people's entire personalities without the flaws that he doesn't like, when he has all this power with the Cerebro helmet now. Down with Xavier, I agree. LOL, imagine if Beast, oh god. Beast would be a nightmare to have the Cerebro power. I didn't know he got married. Yes, he and Rogue actually get married at the wedding of Kitty Pryde and Colossus, because Magic and Kitty are talking and Kitty gets cold feet and she's like, I don't think I'm actually ready for this. So she and Colossus call off the wedding day of, and Rogue and Gambit are there and they're like, well, we can't let this perfectly good ceremony go to waste. So Gambit gets down on one knee, proposes to Rogue, and they get married that day at the ceremony. It's actually a really interesting wedding book because I feel like it was very unexpected for that to happen. And then that ties right into the Mr. and Mrs. X series, which I've heard only good things about. But yeah, they do get married. It happened probably like 2016 or 17, I think. What do you think of the Vault team, and when are they going to bring them back? They are coming back in the next issue of X-Men, I'm pretty sure. And it is Sync, Darwin, and Laura, and I'm excited for all of them to come back. As we were discussing earlier, I think there's going to be some serious repercussions to them being in there, whether or not it's those characters specifically or characters like Honey Badger, who have been seriously neglected in the absence of Laura. So I'm really excited for the next X-Men book, actually, because I've been missing the Vault team. I feel like they've been gone for far too long. LOL, Magic broke up Kitty and Colossus. I feel like Magic did break up Kitty and Colossus, because Kitty was like, I'm gonna get married, everything's gonna be fine. And then Magic was like, unless you have cold feet. And Kitty's like, what? Why would I have cold feet? So yeah, I have strong feelings, but I feel like Magic broke up their wedding. Brings Revolutionary Cyclops to the future to do an 05 X-Men on current Scott. Oh my god. If Beast did that, he would be even more hypocritical than he already is. I hated... So I liked the OG5 getting pulled into the future for a while, but I feel like they overstayed their visit. But I did like the dynamic. I thought it was very interesting what they created. But, dude, like, if Beast did that again, I would just be like, you've learned nothing. Hello, hi. Shogo needs baby friends. Come on, people, make more mutants. Yes, or in Excalibur, he needs to make dragon friends. And maybe if the dragons come through the gate, they'll just also be babies, which I think would be really funny. If we get, like, all these really badass otherworld dragons coming through the gates into just actual dragon babies, I think that would be really, really funny. Sorry, I keep yawning. I don't know why. What about Wolverine and Storm? I thought they were a couple. I want them to be a couple. They were a couple for a while. I don't really remember them breaking up per se. But Storm seems to be single in this current run, and then Wolverine is dating Jean and Cyclops right now, which I do like seeing polyamory in X-Men, but this wasn't the pairing I really feel okay with it being. But in Ten of Swords, he and Storm do almost kiss, so I really hope that we do get Storm and Wolverine again, because I think Storm and Wolverine was the peak relationship that Wolverine has ever had, and one of the most interesting pairings that Storm has ever had. Like, if I had to pick 2 pairings that I think Storm was really good with that are canon, probably Forge and Wolverine are my top 2. And then pairings that would be interesting but haven't happened would be Storm and Jean, because, like, their dynamic together is just phenomenal. But I don't think they'll ever do it. But at least getting to see their friendship and their banter is worth it for me, because I think Storm and Jean have a very interesting, tumultuous history. I would prefer Storm and Emma, or not Storm and Emma. I would prefer Jean and Emma if Jean were to date a girl. But I think that Storm and Jean would be interesting as well. But Forge and Storm and Wolverine and Storm were far superior. I really love that Storm and Wolverine almost kissed in Ten of Swords, though. It really made me happy. Granted, they were drunk, but, you know, I'm still happy. I remember an episode that they were married. Who? Gina and Cyclops? Gina and Cyclops are, I think, back to being married. I would assume, based on how they're writing the current stuff. And I love them together. I do. I just think they deserve better writing. Otherwise, he and Emma are currently more interesting. Because I'm tired of seeing them just play house all the time in the comics. Seconded, give Shogo more baby friends. Yes. Imagine if they pair Scarlet Witch and Cyclops up in the MCU, like Magneto and Wanda wanted in Ultimate Comics. Oh god. Oh. Ooh. No. That would be horrifying. Give Cyclops more emotionally stable girlfriends, please. That poor boy's been through enough. Ooh. I hope they don't do a whole lot of Ultimates comic stuff, especially now that Pietro isn't Pietro, if you know what I mean. Sorry, I can't agree with Logan and Storm. I need Storm with Black Panther. We need that Black Power couple. I respect that. I just don't think that Black Panther treats Storm very well. I don't like their dynamic. I don't like that he constantly stands between Storm's mutant identity and Storm's black identity, and constantly makes her feel like she has to choose between being a mutant and the Wakandan people. I also kind of don't like how they retconned a lot of their backstories to make them childhood lovers out of nowhere. But overall, I don't like how controlling Black Panther gets of Storm, and I kind of don't like them together. And I wish they were better written, but they're kind of toxic. And I wish that, you know, we did have that Black Power couple, but personally, I am not a fan of Storm and Black Panther for that reason. I just think that, you know, if it was a healthy couple, he wouldn't constantly make her choose between her mutant identity and her black identity. Storm and Wolverine. I don't think they were ever married in an episode. I don't think that was in a cartoon ever. I think they did get married in a future book. I think I don't know if it was like an Old Man Logan or something, but I think maybe they did show like a future where they end up together, like as in the future. But I think it was like a one shot. I can't remember. But I think maybe they did get married in like a future thing. Speaking about emotionally stable people, I wonder what Lee Forrester is doing these days. Oh god. It's like a lot of people forget that Cyclops also dated Colleen Wing for a while. No, I would love, I love Scott and Jean. I just wish, I don't know if it's because, you know, I don't really like how they're writing Jean lately or what, but like Cyclops and Jean are so boring right now, and I'm like, man, I like this pairing better, but y'all are making me miss him and Emma real strong, if this is how we're going with it, because like I'm so tired of watching them play house. I really am. Storm and Logan were together in an alternate reality in the X-Men cartoon One Man's Worth, which I believe was inspired by an Age of Apocalypse series. Which cartoon was that? That's rad. I will have to find that episode because I've seen all 3 cartoons now, and I don't remember that, so I wanna go back and find that because I love them. At least the Summers family is a functioning a family, apart from Nate, F Nate. Dude, Nate is a basket case. Young Jean was a better character, and so was, X-Men Red Jean. Yeah, like, X-Men Red Jean, like, was kinda hit or miss for me because I really didn't like what they did in Resurrection. But Teen Jean had so much growth and was so interesting, and I was so excited to have her back. I loved her dynamic with Emma. I loved her dynamic with adult Scott. I loved her dynamic with teen Scott. I loved her dynamic with X-23. Hated her dynamic with Wolverine. But I really liked what they did with her, how they had her actually struggle with what's right and wrong versus her teaching with Xavier, who was more manipulative, versus her teaching with Emma, who's like, no, that's morally so screwed up. Um, and I really enjoyed that, and I'm so just sad that we now are back to kind of a bland, lacking personality character from Jean, honestly. The original X-Men cartoon from Fox. I'm gonna have to look for that because I feel like I've seen, like, at least most of the episodes except for the very last season, but I'm gonna have to go look for that because I wanna see that. That's awesome. Oh, man, I do miss X-Men Red. A bit wordy, but I loved it. Right, it was so fun. I really liked Trinary too. Trinary was a really cool character that I would like to see come back in some form. No, I think apparently you're right. Apparently it does happen in an episode. I don't recall it, but apparently, that does exist. We need more Trinary and Gentle. I really liked Gentle. The way they set up his powers were very complex and interesting. And I like more kind of monkey's paw mutant abilities like that, where they can't just, use their powers to use their powers. There's a little bit of a catch to it. Um, and I really like that about him, and I want to see more of them. And I hope they don't just kind of get brushed away into the sweeping history of X-Men. I hope that, they come back and get to do something cool. Yeah, her powers, they grow very, very quickly. I think a lot of that is how condensed they had to write the story because they kept tying into cross X book events every like 3 or 4 books, which was my gripe with that ending era was they constantly were like, oh, X-Men Blue's coming to red, coming to gold. So I feel like they kind of had to accelerate her to fit the narrative of, the hounds and now Cable's killing everyone and he's coming for the young X-Men and, it got really messy at the end, I feel like. If my memory serves me correctly, it's been a long time since I read X-Men Red, but I remember it getting pretty messy at the end. I keep yawning, I'm so sorry. What do you do for work? I am a part-time content creator where I do this kind of stuff, as well as making costumes and TikToks. And I also work at a comic book shop. So that is what I do. But I really like working in a comic shop. I feel like it really puts me in a place where I can keep up with comics and I can hear really interesting opinions and grow my knowledge from other people and from reading and I like being in that sphere and getting to talk comics with people. What did you think of the different teams in that era, along with the Sabretooth on an X team? I thought that the like alignment shift was very interesting. I thought that the Dark Havoc arc was extremely interesting. I like X-Men Blue a lot better when it was the team led by Polaris. I will be real, I didn't read any of X-Men Gold, so I can't really speak on that one. But I really did enjoy X-Men Blue and Red. Um, Especially there at the end, even though it got messy, I still kind of liked the repercussions of the young X-Men staying so long. Like, it actually did get timeline messy because of how long they stayed. So I like that it wasn't just like, oh, they got to go back peacefully. Like, no, y'all stayed here too long. now stuff's gonna go wild. And like, I really like how the writers were able to kind of commingle and handle a lot of what they did. But I think my favorite arc from X-Men Blue was Dark Havoc, and Havoc and Emma potentially being in a relationship during that period. Kind of unclear. Poor Emma having bad luck with Summers boys, but you know. What's the funniest moment you can remember happening at the shop? Man, now I have to think because there's been a lot of weird things to happen. Um, my first weekend there, someone almost hit the shop with their car, but our concrete step in front of the front door blocked the car from hitting it because they were all the way across the parking lot and left their car on neutral instead of park. Other than that, I think my favorite thing was I was wearing a Captain Marvel jacket with like this star on it, and someone complimented me on my Wonder Woman jacket, and I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'll just let them have that. I could see how you could get that wrong. Same color scheme, you know, the lines. And jokingly, since I laugh with my friends, the place I got my jacket has since come out with a Wonder Woman jacket that is almost identical without the star. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you know. And then like the next day, I wore a Phoenix hat, right? Which is a red hat with a Phoenix logo. And a customer comes in and goes, "Wow, I love your Captain Marvel hat." And it was just like back to back. I was just like, ah, what is this world? I don't know. Like off the top of my head, those are kind of two standout stories that I've been kind of baffled. But I feel like there's always misadventures when you work at a comic shop. Honestly, there's always fun and funny things happening. I like your eyes. Thank you. They are gray, and I like that they look like they're different colors all the time. I like my eyes a lot. Is it about time Magic pursues a love interest? Oh, I think they're getting there. The question is who is going to win the shipping war, because I feel like we are getting one step closer to canonizing either Kitty and Ileana or Kitty and Rachel. And they keep playing hot and cold with both. We get a future glimpse in Excalibur where Kitty and Rachel are together, finally, which has been a long time coming since the Claremont era. And then, you know, we get some flirtiness between Rachel and Kitty. Or not Rachel and Kitty, sorry. We get some flirtiness between Ileana and Kitty, which is a ship I've been wanting since All New X-Men. So I think that, you know, we're slowly moving towards it. And I would actually love, as the comment says, a love triad between Kitty Magic and Rachel. I think that would be fun, and I think it would be way more interesting of a polyamorous relationship than Jean Scott and Wolverine. And I don't think that it needs to be a true triad, you know, where Rachel and Magic are together necessarily. It can be a functioning poly relationship where Kitty just has two girlfriends. But I think that we are seeing finally Magic being able to be more outward about her like for Kitty, because I feel like they've been I feel like we're seeing a little more blatancy from Magic's writing towards Kitty Pryde finally, because I think that it's always been there. It's just been a lot more subtle. So whether or not she ends up getting together with Kitty, you know, maybe they'll give her another love interest if Kitty ends up with Rachel. But I do think we're finally seeing a little more blatancy there, and I do think that Magic has feelings for Kitty and has had feelings for Kitty for a very long time. Yeah, Polaris teases Rachel about girls. Yeah. Polaris, I'm intrigued about to see where that goes, because the writer of X Factor said that she was happy to have a completely LGBT team. And Polaris has never, to my knowledge, really been anything but straight. So that intrigues me. But yeah, Rachel, I have a strong feeling that Rachel likes girls and has always liked girls. To some extent. And Claremont had wanted Kitty and Rachel to be a couple, but wasn't able to when he wrote them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Rachel. We've already seen them be together in an alternate Jamie Braddock reality, so you know. But I do think if Magic gets a love interest, there'll at least be something, at least unrequited with Kitty, if not more apparent in the coming issues. Who is Magic? Magic is Ileana Rasputin. I actually have This is Magic. Um, this is also Magic, but this is Magic. She is the sister of Colossus, and she has the power to create portals and a soul sword. And she's very interesting and complex. And I do suggest diving into her a little bit if you're looking for a new character, because she's really really cool. Mostly a New Mutants character. Lately, she's been getting put on more and more X-Men books, which makes me happy. Uh, One of her defining kind of character arcs, I feel like, is Uncanny X-Men by Bendis, is where she kind of starts to get into main roster a little bit more. Also, AVX, she's one of the Phoenix Five, so that era is kind of where she finally comes to the forefront. Okay, I will answer a last few discussion questions here, and then I think I'm gonna hop off briefly. So if anyone has any more like questions or comments or something, go ahead and throw them out there, and I will answer a batch of them before peacing out. We've been going strong for an hour and a half, and I just don't want to. I don't want to go too long, So would you mind Magic and Cyclops being together? I think it would have been very interesting. I think the boat has since passed on them being together plot wise. I think it would have been interesting in this era when he was broken up with Emma. Um, I feel like I do like their dynamic as like captain and commander. I think that they've had some flirty moments that have been fun that I'm probably reading a little bit into because I wanted this to happen in this era. Um, but I think that throwing a third woman into the ring right now on Cyclops is too much because he's very much so in this happy Summers family thing with Jean. And ambiguously with Emma, because sometimes Emma makes remarks, but sometimes Emma doesn't make remarks. And I just feel like kind of the boat has passed on the Magic Cyclops ship, unfortunately, which bums me out because I think Magic and Cyclops would have been an interesting couple. But I also feel like, again, as we were talking about earlier, I don't think that this Cyclops is the Cyclops we have, and I feel like this Cyclops was the Cyclops that was compatible with Magic. Not so much the Cyclops we're seeing now. I feel like the Cyclops we're seeing now would be eaten alive by Magic. So, I don't know. I'm a little bummed by it, but what do you think of the Wolverine family and their direction? I'm very intrigued. I think that, as we were talking about earlier, Honey Badger is getting really, really ignored. And I think that Wolverine isn't being there for any of them, which is a shock to no one. I think Laura is really the glue that's always held the Wolverine family together. So I'm excited to see her come back and what that creates because Daken is very, I'm a 20-year-old frat boy and I'm going to do what I want. And I got time for my little sister later as his little sister is clearly suffering. And then their dad is just completely out of the picture most of the time, spending more time with the Summers family than anything else. So I think the dynamic is very interesting, and it'll probably implode a little bit in the coming books. See you next time. Yeah. If you could strike anything from X-Men canon, what would it be? Cyclops' entire resurrection, Jean Grey's entire resurrection. Yeah. Honestly, Cyclops' death in the first place. I mean, I think I would strike. It's really a butterfly effect, but I think like if I could strike anything out, it would be the last half of the Bendis run, before it leads into IVX and Death of X. Just nope, no. We don't need to kill Cyclops. That was stupid. His character development was at an all-time high. I don't think we had to bring back Jean in such a Logan-centric way, where it was Teen Scott and Old Man Logan. Hated that. Um, I think that whole era really kind of character assassinated and actually killed some of my favorite characters. So for X-Men history for me, I think that era was just very sloppy. The entire let's push Inhumans era, if I could, I think I would strike. Um, and kind of alter the course, even if we still ended at Krakoa, whatever. But I think that really stunted a lot of character growth, not even just Jean and Cyclops, but specifically Jean and Cyclops because I like them. Um, there's a lot of things without going into like an hour-long lecture of everything I would change and evolve and rewrite and redo in that era. But if I could, I think IVX into Death of X was probably one of the biggest mistakes that they've ever done. Have there been any new characters you've learned about lately that you would love to cosplay? I've been really in love with Wolfsbane lately. I kind of want to do her. I've been reading a lot of her older stuff. And then Rachel Gray. I've been getting a much more founded appreciation for her as a character that I would really like to cosplay her. Not so much any new. I'm trying to think of like any new characters that like they've just created that I'm into, but I don't think so. I think the last like new character that they've done that I've cosplayed is Tempest, but I'm definitely getting an interest in a lot of characters that I wasn't interested in before, thanks to the Hickman era. So Wolfsbane and Rachel are two that I'm finding myself going back and kind of deep diving their history because of how much I've kind of connected and really fallen in love with them. I will say I'm really unhappy that we're bringing up Wolfsbane's weird werewolf baby. I kind of hoped we could leave that in the past of comics, but you know, those are two that I'm very excited about right now. Oh, also She-Hulk. I've gotten really into She-Hulk lately. Um, seeing her pop up in some of the other books I'm reading, I've really gotten an appreciation for her because I used to just think she was like Lady Hulk. But she's actually a lot more complex and interesting than that, and I've really fallen in love with her as a character, and I think she has some really interesting plot beats. So I don't know if I'll cosplay her. I think it'd be fun, but I'm tiny, so we'll see. Love Havoc and X-23 now. That would be interesting. Oh, yeah. No, that would be messy, but interesting. I kind of like that Havoc and Polaris are broken up right now, though. I think it's pretty interesting as a dynamic to not just instantly have them back together, so. I really don't like the idea of a ship. Do please elaborate on that. I feel like as in because largely like ship I'm using as an abbreviation of relationship. A lot of these that I've been talking about are canon ships, or when I was talking about the ship being passed for these two, I mean like plot wise, like the opportunity for them to be together has since passed. um Largely ship I'm just using as an abbreviation though for relationship. um You could do Jennifer Walters and have a friend cosplay She-Hulk. I could. I really want to do Fantastic Four era She-Hulk at some point too. Oh, okay. Of Laura and Alex. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I feel like I don't really know enough about either character to say if it would be good or bad, but from surface level, I'm kind of terrified by that. Um, Yeah, I don't know if I like that. Like, I'm really trying to think. I do like that he and Polaris are single right now, so they can like figure their stuff out. So I don't really like the idea of either one being in a relationship right now. But I don't know if Laura is really the right direction for Havoc to go. I mean, he just had his whole run in with Madeline Pryor. I think he needs some time. How funny it would be if she connected with either Darwin or Sync in the vault. I think that would be kind of cool, though. I don't know. It could be a cool idea. I haven't spent much time with Darwin and Sync as characters besides knowing that I believe Sync has dated Jubilee? No. That's a lie. I don't know a whole lot about Darwin and Sync as a whole, so I think it could be interesting. I would definitely like to see more of them as characters. I think I think Prodigy was with Jubilee. I'm trying to remember back in my brain of Gen X because I've only read Gen X once and it's very fuzzy. I forget who Jubilee dated now. I don't know, someone. Jules was interested in Sync, but he wanted to be friends and ended up with Monet. That's what it was. Okay. I was like, it was someone from Gen X, but my memory is hazy. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Sync is still with Monet since she'll be in X Corp, which is coming out this year. Because we really haven't seen much of Monet either to know if they're still a thing. Venice Uncanny X-Men made a big point to age up Tempest a few years. I genuinely believe the idea was for her and Cyclops to get together before the Revolution went off the rails. Yeah, I kind of felt that way too, because there was really no reason for her to age up like 5 years out of nowhere after like their first encounter was her telling Emma how much she liked him. So that was weird too. That whole era was kind of like borderline a harem comic for Cyclops. Like everyone liked him. Magic, I felt like liked him. Emma had feelings towards him. Tempest at one point had feelings towards him. The Cuckoos kind of hinted around about it when Teen Jean was around and they wanted to like head on Cyclops, and Maria Hill has said stuff and Dazzler said stuff. Like everyone was kind of in for it, But she was very angry at Scott after the Original Sin tie-in. Original Sin came after all of that. I will believe you on that because I didn't really read much Original Sin except for the Original Sin tie-ins that introduced Silk as a character. So, and that was completely on the spider side of things. So, yeah, that run was, and a lot of it was very subtle, but like people would be like, "Oh, he's kind of fine," and I'm like, "Why does everyone in this run?" And there's a lot of good options for it to go. I think Magic, Emma, and Tempest being the three that I liked most as far as both probability and what would have worked. Um, but yeah, like everyone would just like make offhand references. They're like, "We have to arrest him, but he's kind of fine." Um, like at one point, like a future Teen Jean comes down as Zorn and just like makes out with him, and I'm like, wait, so has Teen Jean been in for this the whole time? Like it was wild, man. It was wild. Although that outfit is really fine, so I get it. I always thought Tempest and Triage would make an interesting couple from that team. I think so too. I was really excited when I heard we were getting Tempest back. I really was. Um, like I missed her. She had been like in this void of not being mentioned for so long. So I was really excited when we were gonna get her back. But now that she's in the 5, I feel like we only really see like brief appearances of her, and we're never really gonna get to spend time with her as a character. And I'm instantly kind of bummed out that she's part of the 5. Even Bloody Maria Hill. Yeah, no. So as the comic below, or the comment below says, Maria Hill insinuates she likes guys in charge like Cyclops. Emma, they broke up. It's kind of obvious. Tempest has flirtations and even comes to Emma about how attractive he is at one point. Dazzler made comments. Future past Jean went for him. Young Jean also makes a comment about how she is the man she wishes her Cyclops would grow up to be. Take that how you will. And then the Cuckoos are kind of jealous of how much attention Teen Jean gets from Cyclops and decide, well, one of them at least decides to dye their hair red at that point. So take that as you will as well. It gets very, very messy at times. Is Tenchi Muyo with Scott Summers starring? Oh my god. Not wrong. What do you think of the upgraded Mojoverse? I'm excited. I think it's a really apt way to reboot it. I think that streaming and social media is much more relevant than television and actually works for the point of Mojoverse far better than I think TV does as an allegory today for what Mojo is able to do. I think there's much more of a parasocial element to social media than TV. So Mojo manipulating people through TV and running like this like social media, TV station. I think it all just adapts very well and works very well. I kind of like how Spiral's logo is like akin to the Starbucks logo now. I want to see more Mojoverse. Like I really, really enjoyed seeing that in X Force lately. Or not X Force, I'm sorry, X Factor lately. I do wish the Cuckoos would dye their hair again and help make them individuals. I agree. Like I get their whole thing is that they're what is quintuplets now that all five of them are back. But I really liked the era where they had different hair and really felt like they were finally becoming their own people. Because even though they're like diet clones of Emma Frost, like there's no reason that they can't come into their own character. I mean, look at Laura Kenny versus Honey Badger. They're two very, very different characters. They're both clones of Wolverine, though. And I think that the Cuckoos, it's high time that they deserve to do that. And I know that they're telepaths, so they have this kind of hive mind thing where they're always like one individual. But I really like the era where they had individuality, and that's what I like about. I believe it's Esme, but I'm probably 100% wrong on that. That's currently dating Quentin Quire behind everyone's backs. I kind of like that. It gives one of them this like sense of individuality. Yes, I love the idea of individual Cuckoos. Yeah, I think they just deserve it. Honestly, I think they deserve to be able to have a little bit of individuality. Wasn't it revealed that Laura isn't a clone but actual daughter of Logan? I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I don't keep up with the Wolverine family, but I mean, like, even if they are, I think that looking at all the clones of Wolverine and how different they are says enough. Um, Even the clones of Jean Grey, how different Madeline Pryor was from Jean, like, they deserve a little individuality. I feel like they deserve to be more than Emma Frost's lapdogs at times. Yeah, no, I have a Firestar book right there. Godzilla or Kong? I have no stakes in this because I am a casual kaiju fan, but personally, Godzilla. I prefer Godzilla to Kong, but I know that everyone's rooting for Kong right now. But I've never really engaged with anything King Kong, so I like Godzilla. He's like a chunky little lizard. I guess chunky big lizard, but okay. Well, on that note, I think I am going to head out. I'm gonna go get lunch. It was amazing talking comics with all you guys. I will have to do this more often. And I'll try and, figure out. I think like I can also, have some graphics and modules and make this a little more, pretty as well. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I will try though to do this more often maybe, and we can just come on and chat about books. This is really fun. I love hearing people's opinions about comics, and I love talking about, theories and ideas and stuff that might happen. So until next time, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Bye.